Tunde is one of my ideal immigrants because his story is really one of, literally one of grit of what immigration is all about. Like literally going from zero to nothing. But I think the biggest take for me from this episode was, or the biggest lesson for me is the fact that you almost can't get anything in your comfort zone. Especially if you're an immigrant, like you can't. Because everyone around you or everyone else who's here or who's born here, they have the social networks. They've built up, capacity. They understand how the culture works, the nuances, everything. You have nothing, zilch. And so these folks, they have communities they have that they can reach out to. You have to build all those things. And so as an immigrant, more often than not, you have to go the extra mile. Always. Like, I feel like for me, if there was one thing you took from this episode, just that, like, you always have to go the extra mile.
I don't know about a lot of people, right? But I still feel like I had one of the worst experiences as an international student, especially the first few months, right? And I'll tell you why. For me, like I said, traveling abroad wasn't really necessarily in the plan. So it wasn't like I was stacking some money somewhere and say, I'm traveling this period, right? Pam, 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 admission came out. Pam, 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 like, let me submit this thing. Then give me fine. Then don't give me. I continued my HR job for food concepts, right? And then it came out. I'm like, okay, I have to take this opportunity. I'm not going to leave it and stay, another time. Who knows? Maybe that's the only shot I have, right? And I said, okay, I'll do it. So I traveled, hadn't paid any dime. I had just $2,000 on me when I landed. Cash, no other money anywhere. Cash, that was the only money I had on me. And I hadn't paid tuition, so hold on to that. No tuition. No.
Jeez, man.
So when I landed, first the winter, right? I bought one jacket from Java like that or more. I come off for airport like this. The thing flew me back. It was cold. There wasn't proper orientation for me when I was coming here.
And so in this episode, me and Tunde talk about, he tells me a story of how he went from being a graphic designer and designing something for the Nigerian presidency all the way to doing HR, coming down to Canada to study HR. He talks about the part where he had to defer his admission. That doesn't happen again, though, sadly. I mean, I wish it still happened. He talks about launching an immigrant-focused startup. And he talks about like the stuff he would have done differently. Please, I really, really think it's a really good episode. So today on the Newcomers Podcast, I have with me Tunde. He's probably called Tunde Tash. And so if you're Nigerian and you've ever thought about, I want to find information about how to move to Canada, and I feel like you would have come across Tunde's Twitter profile at some point. Like if you haven't, then where have you been living? But yo, man, welcome. Thanks for coming on this. And I think I want to say ask the usual question and say, hey, tell me about yourself. But I think we'll talk about that. So I'm just going to get straight into this and just ask you, why? Again, I saw you put something yesterday or so about graphic designing something for the Nigerian president and stuff. I'm just trying to understand how you went from that journey to Canada.
Yo, that's like a 12, 15 years journey, man. Honestly, yeah. So, yeah, a lot of people know my story. I share my story openly on social media. I try to let people understand that, getting to this point, it's not just by either luck or, just by sheer, how would you put it? Not by luck or not being handed over, right? I had to work hard for it, right? And I used to be a graphic designer. So fresh out of University of Ibadan, no job, jobless. I was in Lagos. I went to NIIT, right? As at then, NIIT was the place where if you wanted to become a tech pro, that's where you go learn stuff. You will learn networking, design, anything you wanted to learn, you will learn it at NIIT, right? So I learned graphic design / 3D modeling at NIIT. And when I finished, I couldn't still find a job, but I got a job through my now wife. Used to be my girlfriend then. So one of our church members had a printing firm at Shomolu in Mushi. And then he had this graphic design opening, and she asked if he was looking for someone, and he said yes. And I went to work there. I used to earn 30,000 naira per month back then, right? But I really liked it, not because I was doing what I liked, right? But there comes to a point in your life when you decide or realize that, okay, what's the end goal? Where will this really take me to, right? And then I looked at the people around me who were doing the same thing, and I didn't really see so much of growth, perhaps maybe because I was doing it in Shomolu. Maybe if I was doing it somewhere in VI, in a corporate organization, maybe I would see myself in a bigger place, right? And as God will have it, or as everything will happen, as fate will have it, he went bankrupt, and then he laid everybody off, and I lost that job, right? So while I was jobless, I reached out to, I was on social media scrolling, Twitter. I was not like I'm a somebody now, but I was a nobody, right? So I was just scrolling through Twitter, and then I saw this person who we had attended the same school, but he's my senior. May God rest his soul, Shegun Pikuda. So I reached out to him. I saw he was online that day, and I reached out to him. I said, yo, I'm actually out of job, and if you have any leads, anything, just let me know. And I didn't even know he was in HR. I didn't know anything about him. I just knew we went to the same school, and we chatted one-on-one before. And he said, hey, actually, you know what? We're actually hiring at the head office of where I work. It's a HR role, but it's based on merit. And it's like an entry-level HR role, but it's based on merit. So everybody who comes out, they have to do an aptitude test. And whoever sort of comes out the best will have the opportunity to have an interview. So it's not like it's even automatic. You have to do an interview. I was like, oh, God. Okay, let me give it a try. I went, it was less than 50, but we're about maybe 30 something that went there for that aptitude test. And I did it, and I knew that I did it well. And I got a call later on. I was told that I got the highest point in that aptitude. I said, okay, it means that, I'm not just a graphic designer, I'm also smart, So I went for the interview, met Mr. Biodun, Ayoride. Those are like the first people I met who groomed me, interviewed me, and he said, no problem, that, you can start, and I will hire you. And I got the offer, and that was how I got into the human resources profession, as an entry-level person. And I think a lot of things changed during that period, right? I was going from somebody who was coming from a casual work to a corporate setting. And the knowledge I'd always had, the notion I'd always had about human resources was that it was very admin. Hire people, fire people, very admin. But I got into that place, and then I realized that, hey, it was actually much more, complex than that. And this company is actually Food Concepts PLC, the owners of Chicken Republic, Butterfield Bread, and all that.
Oh, yeah.
So it was at the head office. So, and we were overseeing over 60 branches across the nation. We're like the HR in charge of all those people everywhere, right? So I was exposed earlier on to that, and getting to know that HR had, compensation and benefits, payroll, strategic HR management, business partner, learning and development. I was like, wow, this HR is actually broad, right? So I really, really, loved the profession then. And then I started to read, right? You're now in a corporate setting, you need to read, you need to up yourself, right? Upskill yourself, basically. And down the line, I think a year and 8 months down the line, I met somebody who came from Canada, and we're having a conversation, and then, he talked about schooling in Canada. It was quite straightforward getting admission, and somehow he also worked with, he works with schools in Canada where he could process those admissions and say, I could give it a try, right? And he actually got introduced to me through my mother-in-law, and I spoke with him, we did it, and the admission came out, and I said, okay, maybe I should give it a try. I hadn't paid any dime in tuition. I submitted the application, it got approved, to come study human resources management here. And that was where everything changed, right? Going from a graphic designer, and coming to Canada. But before then, though, I had met Tolu Ogunlesi, who currently now is the ex-media aide to President, right? So I met him before when I was like in my active graphic design days. They had this symposium or something like that in Enugu, and I was invited to, come share my perspective as a graphic and, design person. So we're still in touch, we're still in contact. And then out of the blues, while I was in Canada, I was doing my internship, right? And then I just saw his email. He said, hey, I'm working to do this. I'm looking to design this. Would you be happy to do that? Instinct, typically when you get things like that, you're like, oh, this is my rate card. This is how much I will charge. I was like, this is for the presidency, right? Like, I would rather have that where, every time it comes up, I can always say, I did that, rather than pushing him away with just saying, okay, give me this money, give me that. And I know that Tolu Ogunlesi could have gotten that thing done anywhere, from anybody, right? But for some reason, he came to me and I said, you know what, I'll do it for free, right? And that was how it came to be. And out of the blues again, yesterday, I came
shared it again.
He shared about it. I said, okay, am I supposed to go back to graphic designing now? Yeah, so that was how I went from that to here, right?
To HR. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. So now you took all that backstory. I find it pretty interesting how you just moved across, from graphic design all the way to HR. Yeah. And just looking at how your background was set up, graphic design is pretty different. I mean, then you worked in Nigeria for a bit, a year and 8 months. So it's a while, but still, you're still trying to get settled into the industry. How was it settling into school as a student here? Like, so when you moved to do HR here, like, how was it? Like, was it wild, sweet?
Wow. I can't lie to you. It was wild. I don't know about a lot of people, right? But I still feel like I had one of the worst experiences as an international student, especially the first few months, right? And I'll tell you why. For me, like I said, traveling abroad wasn't really necessarily in the plan. So it wasn't like I was stacking some money somewhere and say, oh, I'm traveling this period, right? Pam, admission came out. Pam, like, let me submit this thing. Then give me fine. Then don't give me.
They give me, I'm okay.
My HR job for food concepts, right? And then it came out. I'm like, okay, I have to take this opportunity. I'm not going to leave it and stay, another time. Who knows? Maybe that's the only shot I have, right? And I said, okay, I'll do it. So I traveled, hadn't paid any dime. I had just $2,000 on me when I landed. Cash, no other money anywhere. Cash, that was the only money I had on me. And I hadn't paid tuition, so hold on to that. No tuition. No.
Jeez, man.
So when I landed, first the winter, right? I bought one jacket from Yaba like that or more. I come off for airport like this. The thing flew me back. It was cold. There wasn't proper orientation for me when I was coming here, right? And I went to school. School started. They let me register, by the way, and they allowed me sort of spread my payments, right? But school started, and when it started, I realized I had a lot of culture shock. For instance, I've watched a lot of American movies, Hollywood movies. I used to hear what they said, quite all right. But here am I in class, and I hadn't heard what everybody was saying. I was like, this is happening now. I'm serious. Back then, maybe because I wasn't just settled mentally, teachers would say something in class. It was as if they were talking too fast. I would talk to them. It was as if they couldn't hear what I was saying. I was like, this place is not for me, right? So what I did was I went to, and then finding a room was hard, right? Finding a place for myself. I was cutting with some folks who were living, who were schooling in Kitchener as a den, and getting that place was hard. So I went to school and I said, there's just so many things happening right now. I don't know how your bus schedule works. The winter is, it's too cold for me, -10, -15 in Kitchener. I didn't have the proper winter gears at that time. I said, you know what? I need to defer this thing. Let me take a little breather, right? So I deferred for 4 months, right? So that 4 months helped me to immerse myself into the system. Good for me was that I was able to make 2 Canadian friends, right? Male and female, Brad and Nicole. These were like the 2 people who held my hand, so I got my orientation from them. I understood the system from them, the bus schedules. This is how things will work. This is where you get a job. This is what you will do, right? And I started working, right? I started working as international student we can work. So I started working. But the type of job I got, I thought, went to this agency, took my human resources resume. I felt like, yo, they will look at it that big boy, from food concept. Nobody's having food concept. Oh, they say, guy, factory job. Yo, I was working in factory, man. I was packing sausages in cold rooms, 8-hour shift, standing. It was brutal. And that was like also the peak of winter, right? But that helped me a little bit because did that job, was able to save a little bit on the side, and sharing that story with my folk back home. My elder brother, some of my guarantors who have supported me through my schooling, my higher education in Nigeria, and even my girlfriend at that time, who's now my wife. Told them all these things, and they're like, "Oh, you've tried your best." I was able to come up with some part of the first semester, and then they supported with the other part of the first semester as well. So that was able to, I was able to use that to sort of register and then start in the summer. But during that period, I still had to hold on to part-time jobs. I was working at Toyota at a point, and I changed jobs. I was working as a traffic warden guy, controlling traffic during winter. There's this place called Bigaman.
Yo,
it was a lot, man. That's why I said, I went through it. I really went through it. But, looking back at all those times and how it is now, I'm really grateful for how it is now for a lot of international students, right? There's a lot of information out there now. And so this is it. When we say things like there wasn't a lot of information for us, it doesn't mean there wasn't information back then. There was information back then, but it wasn't really tailored to someone like me, right? You understand? It wasn't for me. It was general. It was generalistic, right? I didn't even know where to find African stuff. You understand? All those type of things. There was no community of Africans, of Nigerians. Today, you learn, even before you learn Canada, they've already added you to a WhatsApp group. Right, somebody's telling you this is where you will get this. I will drive you there. I will take you there. Back then you had to figure out everything by yourself. Right. So it was pretty much hard, settling in as an international student. But aside from all this side track, all these things that were happening on the side, I had my goal on one thing. I needed to get a distinction, and at the same time, before school finished, I needed to become a certified HR professional. I needed to get my CHRP license, right? So those were like the goals, and I made sure that I sort of achieved those goals, while I was, before I finished school. So but all in all, it was a good time. I think I learned a lot, and that's why today it gives me that tenacity where I know that no matter how hard it is.
As you've seen worse.
You've seen worse.
You know what I find interesting is, first off, we need to do a campaign. Ban selling winter jackets in Yaba. Like, campaign, ban winter jackets in Yaba. Those are not winter jackets. Those are just probably fall jackets at best.
I know. I agree.
And then the second thing is, I'm just curious. I'm just trying to understand, I find it interesting how you were able to think through the fact and say to yourself, hey, let's take a step back and defer this thing and go work for a bit. Like, how did you come to that conclusion? Because like most people will say to you, you can survive. You can do all things in Jesus Christ. You just keep going. And like, I find that such an interesting approach to it. And I wish more people would take that route. Like, hey, you know what? Let's step back a bit and find our way instead of still just getting caught up in the system and just frustrated and stuff. So how did you get there?
I think, it gets to a point where you are just frustrated, right? And you're just like, and that's why sometimes in friendship, in relationship, in jobs, people get to a point and they're like, you know what? I think I've had enough, right? I need to maybe I need a space, or you need to channel it or go about it in another way, right? And I reached out. I went to the school. Good thing is the international office is just, they are always, they have an open door policy where you can walk in and ask questions. And I asked a lot of questions. I'm struggling in class. I haven't gotten a room yet. Everything looks to be happening so fast. They're already giving out assignments in the first week. I'm not even settled in yet. I don't even have a laptop, right? I didn't come with a laptop. All those type of things. I'm like, so is there a possibility for me to start another time or something like that? And they were like, okay, that they would check to see if there was any opening for the next semester, right? If the sad thing was I'd already made two friends in that class, two Nigerian friends in that class, cool guys. But they had to sort of finish before me, which of course it didn't mean anything, right? Yeah. And also to the credit of those people I met here, right? The person I squatted with, he also sort of hinted that if things are so hard for you, you can actually ask, if there's a possibility for you deferring, right? I know today though it's the deferment is now strictly based on if the school agrees or not, right? Yeah, because they find that, and I don't know who those people are, but they find that a lot of students have bastardized it, right? They sort of take advantage of that deferment to do something else, right? So schools now, it has to be strictly either health related or that the program is really full and you didn't come on time to register when you came to Canada, or you came late and the program has started, right? That's when they will really allow you to defer it. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Fair. Yeah, because I've not heard about it of recent, which is why I find it really interesting. Yeah. So still staying on this, and I hear you about the feeling of frustrations and things and just starting to find yourself. But like for you, like what if you had to chart your journey from then up till now? What's the unexpected magical moment, or maybe moments that you feel like have been like they've changed your life, like at different points till where we are today having this conversation?
Good question. I think the first occurrence was still in school in Kitchener. Was my first project. Well, that's like the first learning point for me. It was like a learning curve, and it was the first major lesson I learned while I was in school about Canada itself as an immigrant, right? And it was a project, an assignment. The assignment was, you are a HR professional, all of you in class, go out there, look for a HR professional that has 5 years experience, interview them, ask them about their experience. They gave us this, this list of questions that we'll use as conversations, right? And based on that, write a report of your findings and submit that report. That was like a project, and we were to turn it in maybe in about 2 weeks, right? So I was like, small thing. I took that assignment. I was like, where should I go? The first place, LinkedIn. I went to LinkedIn. But the caveat is you must interview people in Canada, not anywhere else. So they have to be in Canada, right? So, and given that I didn't grow up here, I was just an international student here, my network base hadn't increased at all, right? So it was still very, very still within the confines of school. So I knew the students, I knew the teachers, but I couldn't interview those. I needed to go out. Right, so I was like, okay, LinkedIn first. I used LinkedIn. I tweaked by city, and I'll put human resources. I'll put the city. A couple of people come out. I did like an email template. I sent to people. I think more than 10. No response. I was like, okay. I waited a few days. I was like, okay, maybe it will come up. No response. I was like, okay, all right. I was like, okay, I said, no problem. I was like, okay, maybe the next thing I'll do is I'll look for people online, right, who have maybe human resources on their bio or whatever. Look for companies, look for their phone numbers and just call them directly, right? The first 2 people I called, nothing. They just said, "Do you have an appointment? Who do you want to speak with?" So with that, and I could sense the tone from the phone. I was like, this isn't going to work, right? And I was frustrated. The first week gone, nothing, right? And back in class, a lot of people were already turning in the assignment, talking about the assignment. The students, everybody was like, this is not good. I went to there was a recruitment agency, and I knew recruitment agencies will have HR, right? So I went there with some of my classmates who are Nigerians. They were able to interview these people and all that, but we only found two of those. So I was left out. I couldn't interview anybody. So a few days to the deadline, I said, you know what? Anything that will happen will happen. I had just one suit. I had a suit, very nice blue suit. I can never forget. I had white shirt. Like corporate, I ironed it, cleaned it. I was like, on the morning, I think it was either a Tuesday or Wednesday, I was like, on the morning, 7 a.m., I'm going to dash out. I'm going to go to Kitchener downtown, and I'm going to walk there in all the offices, and I will go to any office there, I will knock on their offices. I'll ask to see the HR people. Then I'm very much sure I'm going to find somebody to interview. The first place I went to, immigrant receptionist, Russian, I must say. And she asked me first, I greeted her, I was looking very presentable. I was like, anywhere I entered, they would listen to me. Looking very presentable. I went to this woman and she said, any appointment this morning? I said, no. She said, who would I like to see? I said, I would like to see anybody who's in the HR department. She said, unfortunately, I can't see anybody because I have no appointment, that this place is strictly by appointment. It's a newspaper company, actually. It's a newspaper company for Waterloo. So she gave me her card. She said, call and make an appointment, later on. I was like, I have no time for that, given that it was just maybe 2 days before deadline. So I left, but I thanked her, I left. I went to the next place, accounting firm. I saw this guy looking good, just like myself. The first thing he said was, nice suit. I was like, thank God, at least. Give me this one. Okay. Well. Then he said, and I told him, he said, unfortunately, the head office is in Toronto, downtown Toronto. So I have to go all the way to go. I was like, hey, that's like 3 hours by bus, because I don't drive, right? And by train, it will be maybe about 2 hours if I don't take express. I said, no problem. I thanked him, I left. So there were a lot of small places like that, small offices like that I could go knock and, get what I needed, or somehow I'll find out if I could get it or not. But then immediately I came out from that office, there was a big brown building I saw that was staring at me. Like it was still maybe like 3 minutes walk from where I was, right? So I had the option to either go to all these other places or just go there. I looked at that place and I said, you know what? I don't know what's in that place, but I'm going there. So I went to that building. Big building. It's big brown building. And when I got there, this one has a security guy at the front desk. And they're like, yeah, may I help you? And I introduced myself. I said, I'm an international student from Connecticut College. I'm actually doing a project right now. I'm just looking for a HR person, and I would like to speak with, anyone that I can speak with here. And he said, well, the building here is occupied by different companies and offices, but that there's a major office I can go there. It's so floor. I should go there and perhaps just ask somebody there. So I'm conducting a project and I'm looking to interview a HR person, right? She now said, really? She now said, oh, wow, okay. She now said, well, we haven't started meetings yet, but there's somebody you might want to ask if you want to interview, if you want to speak with her, right? And I said, no problem. And she said, come with me. And I went with her, and then she asked me to sit. I sat, and then she went in, came out. And by the time she came out, there was this, slim, elderly Caucasian woman that came out. And she said, hi, how may I help you? And then I told her again, international students, project, blah, blah. I said, okay. She said, you know what? I don't have a meeting now, but I can speak with you before 9 a.m. That's to tell you how early it was. Say I can speak before 9 a.m. And then she said, come to my office. And then we went there. I asked her my question. I finished. I recorded all those type of things. And she said, wow, this is very brave of you, what you have done. But you see, where I'm going is this. You see, I did not know who I was interviewing. That's the juice of this whole thing. I didn't know who I was interviewing. The person I was interviewing was the head of HR of the whole region of Waterloo. So imagine being in Toronto and you are interviewing the GTA, the HR of the whole GTA. I was like, what? Not like that. But I learned a lot of lessons that day. One key lesson for me was that I can never get anything in my comfort zone. Right? Never, as an immigrant, right? You can't get it just like every other person will. Right? People have built community, network, everything here. It will be easy for them to pick up phone to do stuff, but for you have to go the extra mile, right? And that's why for me, every time, even at my jobs, everywhere, I always ensure that they say I should stop at B, I ensure I go to E, right? Because going the extra mile gives you that opportunity to shine. It gives you that opportunity, to be able to put in so much more and get a lot out of it, right? And here in my front was, how in the world could I have gotten this woman? There's no way I could have gotten this woman through LinkedIn or through a phone call. I had to go out to be able to interview her. And she gave me her card and she said, what you have done today is really brave. You just walked into this place and asked to interview somebody, and that's why I'm actually speaking with you, right? I took my project back to class. Are you very surprised? people were asking, even people that were here who grew up here, the Caucasians, they were, how did you get this woman? How did you get this woman? Like, do you know her before? I'm like, don't worry about that. I can't give you my secret sauce. You know, even the teacher, I got A in that project, right? I got A in that project, you know. And also, there's also a spiritual component to that thing that sort of, you know, ministered to me. There are some places anywhere you get into, right? The first sort of people you meet can either make or mar you, right?
Yes.
That woman that I met, right? There are two women now. The first woman said no. She blocked my way, right? The other woman said, there's somebody I think you can speak with, right? So it's always that we should always hope and pray that we should meet people who will help us advance to the next level, right? And those were sort of key lessons for me, and that I've always taken as an immigrant here. Key lessons for me, and that I've always taken as an immigrant here in Canada.
I like that. I really like that. That's a magical moment for me. So let's kind of come to the present now. I know you run this thing called SchooliplyHQ. Like, what does it do? Like, what's it about? Because I feel like, you know, and how's it related to all the things you talk about, admissions, becoming a student and all that?
Well, so Schooliply is a product of a parent company called Human Squad, right? So in 2020, we launched Human Squad, the startup, right? And primarily just in the immigration space. What we do is, we give information on visa processing, and we also represent people who are looking to travel to Canada, right? So we launched in 2020. We've recorded a couple of successes. But when we launched, something we noticed was a lot of people were asking for study abroad services. Hey, can you help me get admission to this school? Can you help me? Do you process admission, right? And that was when we realized that, okay, perhaps we needed to, build a product of our own where we will directly partner with schools. So what Schooliply does really is we partner with institutions in Canada, in UK, in US, Germany, and the likes, migrant-friendly schools, so to speak, places students want to go study. We partner with these schools, and then we help them recruit international students, right? And we do that for free for the international student. And in return, the schools pay us, right? So that's how Schooliply works. And when we launched, we had just about 5 schools when we started Schooliply. It was really, just about 5 schools in Canada, but now we are at 65 schools, right?
Damn, that's some growth.
We've grown, into some areas where places like Malta, Singapore, Switzerland, but majority of our schools are in Canada, US, and UK, right? So that's what Schooliply does. And so far, we've processed. It's just that for me, I don't see us running the startup like a blog, because you see a lot of people, when they help people with admission, they put it online, they blog the names and all that. If we do that, that means we'll be churning out a lot of admission letters that will sort of, but we're running as a startup, right? Apple, you don't see Apple coming out when they sell the phone to say, oh, my customer has bought, we bought you, still a customer, and I understand that, the demographic you are, speaking to might want to see such successes, but it speaks for itself, right? So that's what Schooliply does. We help people get admission. And then there's a sister product called Travel, right? It's also a product of Human Squad. So what happens is when you get an admission to Canada, at least for students who are coming to Canada, Travelly will help you with the visa processing. But this time it will be at a fee, right? It won't be free like for Schooliply. And but if you get admission to other countries, we will give you like a visa guide that will help you with the step-by-step guide of how to process your visa. So that's what Schooliply does.
That's amazing. And seeing that we're now talking about Schooliply and all the things, like, I just want to ask a couple of pointed questions. Sure. And there's one thing that you see a lot where people talk about hiring consultants, and stuff. And then, but there's also the fact people complain there's so many fraudulent consultants out there. And so I just want to ask, like, one, are there any red flags one can look out for when you're looking to hire someone to help you with student or work or PR? Like, because, I did my PR by myself, but I've heard people talk about, you just hire a consultant. I agree. And some people still have some terrible stories, and you're like, how didn't you see it?
Yeah, so for consultants, right, good thing is there's a portal. There's a CICC portal. That's the College of Immigration and Citizenship Consultants, right? That's the regulatory body that regulates RCICs, which are the licensed consultants. So there's a portal where it's a registry, online registry, where you can actually go. If somebody tells you they're either a licensed consultant or what, you can go there and put in their names, and you can see if they are really active or not, right? So that's one thing people can do to first validate if somebody is the consultant or not. Another thing is to look out for red flags. Things like if it sounds too good to be true, I can get you an LMIA. I can, get it comes with flights. It comes with no IELTS. All those type of sweetening things that make you, makes your blood, sweet.
Start pumping faster. Like, I'm in Canada.
You're already here. You should be very, very careful. It's not that easy. It's not that straightforward, right? We've seen cases where people will come here. They realize that actually at the airport, it was just about maybe a few weeks ago, we saw that online where some people got, and I don't know how they left the airport back in Nigeria, but they gave them fake visiting visas and all that, right?
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So, but yeah, if it sounds too good to be true, then you know that the person might be fake. And one last thing to say to that is there are some things you can't get from outside Canada. For instance, somebody once bought a PR card. They told them that they were being issued a PR by Canada, and they bought PR card for 800,000 naira. But if you know very well about immigration, you will know that Canada never issues PR card. They don't send you a physical PR card outside Canada. They give you a paper or seal PR. It's when you come here that they will now give you a PR card. You understand? So they never send PR cards to a non-Canadian address. So if somebody outside Canada tells you, oh, Canada has approved your PR card and gives you a PR card, just know right away that it's fake.
That's a fake,
right? Yeah. So those are some of the things, right? And people also need to do a lot of research by themselves, right? To be able to look at you say you did your PR by yourself and all that, right? So that means a ton of research will have gone into it. A lot of work will have been if you are going to do that, if you are going to either hire somebody or do it by yourself, you need to do a lot of research.
Okay. So we're rounding up here. I think I just have like two questions for you. One is, what's the first time it hit you that you weren't home?
I think I was in front of a line, the factory lines when things are moving, things are moving, and I was packing sausages, and it just dawned on me right there. A lot of things that happened before then, right? But right there in that moment, I asked myself a question, and I said, should I have left? I was supposed to be here. This was me, even though I was earning my tertiary 135k in Nigeria back then. I was in AC, I was chopping free lunch at Chicken Republic every other day, bonuses, the prospect of growth is there. And I'm like, I'm packing sausages, like, should I be here? But given that I had already crossed that line, I said, you know what, we'll go the extra mile, right? Regardless of what it takes, we have to go the extra mile and see this through. I think that was the point where it hit me that I was not home, right? That I was already far away from home, and there was nobody I could cry on their shoulder. There was nobody I could ask for money. There was, in Nigeria we leverage on community. You can easily call an uncle. You can go to your neighbor. You can drive to your brother. You can do anything and get that support that you need within your community. But it's not like that here. You are by yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why, when you are here, when somebody promises you money, take that with a pinch of salt, because anybody is going to give you cash in this country. Like, somebody looks at you like that, gives you 500, 400. And funny enough,
that person loves you. That person loves you.
Yeah, let me quickly add, right, that when I came, there was somebody they introduced me to. Somebody from back home introduced me to that woman. She's here. Right, I've not spoken to her after that time when I came. But when I came and I narrated, the whole ordeal to this woman and blah blah blah, I said, "Oh, sorry. So now you're working, blah blah blah, and you're trying to save up for tuition." This woman said, "Don't worry. Every week I will give you $300." You see, I was so happy. I said, angel said. But now, after I got into the workforce, I realized that woman was boboing me, and I couldn't catch it at that time. So I'm like, I don't know why she promised. I don't know why she had to do that. But it's just funny looking back.
Yeah, it is. And then the last question is, Is there anything you'd have done differently in hindsight if you had to move again?
Yes. I think one thing I would have, perhaps done properly before I came here was I would have made sure that I did some sort of crowdfunding, get a lot of funding before I came here so that I didn't have to put myself through what I went through, right? And just so that I'll have some sort of soft landing, right? And also do a lot of research or even get things before I came here, like getting myself a room before I came here, like having somebody get that for me before I came, all those type of things. And another mistake I made was that I wished I had come in way earlier. My school, let's say school started on the 4th. I landed Canada on the 2nd or so, on the 2nd. And I left Nigeria on the 2nd, I landed on the 3rd. Right? So no prep whatsoever, right? So I was sort of rushing into things, right? So in hindsight, I think those are things that I would do if I was to go back in time to try and change things. But all in all, I guess everything was for a reason, and I learned valuable lessons in many of them.
Yeah, I also think there's also a function of the time which you moved, because I feel like moving to Canada now is so different from how it used to be. It's very different. There are things that just happen just because we now have more people. There's a bigger informal community of people you can talk to. So there's stuff people don't make, but it's also still good to kind of reflect on those and think about it and plan for it. Well, thank you so much, Tunde. This has been amazing, an amazing 38 minutes with you.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you so much. I always love sharing my story, right? For a lot of people who are still coming in, I'm so glad. The fact that I see international students today, they're doing admin jobs, they're doing cleaner jobs. It makes me happy. For even, permanent residents, right? It makes me happy. People are coming here getting good corporate jobs and all that, right? It's not as we used to have it, right? And the community of people around many of the people coming in is better. And I say this because when we came, the people we had around us were people who were thriving in factory jobs, right? Who were black immigrants. They will tell you, hey, the best job out there for you is this, right? The cap for you is $20 per hour. Don't even overdream.
Don't dream.
You understand? People saying, why are you doing HR? Nobody will hire a black man to in the HR department. Things like that. But I'm glad that the community is now better. It now has a breed of people who tell you that you are coming, you are getting a 6-figure job. You are coming, you are going inside the corporate environment, right? And I'm so glad that there are a lot of us who are supporting the immigrant community, and we are thriving. And I know we'll get to a point where it's going to be we're not in competition with anybody, but it's going to be like the Indians, how they are thriving.
That's a community I really admire. The Indians and the Chinese especially. Exactly. Yeah, those are communities I really aspire to look like. Folks, thank you so much for listening. As usual, please, I'll ask again. Please share, forward it to your friends. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Go like our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. I mean, for me, that's all I ask for. Thank you so much.